Law school is a very, very tough environment in general. So you don't want to add to the stresses of being a law student additional stresses of not fitting in because you're gay.
Students today have the ability to get online and do a lot of different research, and that research is critical to being able to find a school that's going to be the best fit for you ultimately. We strongly encourage students to check out various websites, the school's websites, the Law School Admission Council website, in order to be able to come up with a good fit for them.
I would say look to LSAC and figure out whether or not a school has identified that they are open to LGBT individuals.
They have the in and out guide to law school, and so I looked at that initially just to get an overview of the basic stats of the school and what courses they offered that might be relevant for LGBT law students.
I looked to see if there were active LGBT legal groups on campus.
I looked at how big the organization was, what kind of activities they did in the past, and a lot of their student groups have their own websites, and you get a sense of the social climate, like, do they do more social activities? Are they politically active?
I essentially Googled. I would Google top 10 best schools for LGBT programs, schools with gender journals, top 10 law professors publishing in sexuality, and I just essentially compiled a list of 5 or 10 schools.
I looked at what type of class offerings they had. It was very important to me that I had opportunities to take critical race theory courses, queer theory courses, and whether there were openly out tenured faculty members. That's very important to me. And what I didn't look at that I should have was a ratio of men to women. At that point, I was single when I was applying, and I thought, oh, how great, maybe I could meet my partner in law school. And the previous law school I went to was 60% women. I was like, oh, great, that's just numerically against me. And I was the only openly out 1L male at that school, so that I found problematic.
My thoughts were mostly about the location of the school, so I definitely knew that I wanted to be in an urban area. And I thought, with that in mind, that it would in turn be more gay-friendly.
I knew that I wanted to be in a place where I could go out on the weekends and see people like me. And that played a role in where I decided to go.
Moving here, I was a little hesitant. I am from the East Coast, born and raised, but, it's a wonderful place to be. I was really happy to find a very large LGBT community here, and it's really eye-opening to know that the rest of the country is just as great as the coasts.
The fact that the LGBT movement isn't just on the coasts anymore, it's reflected in our law schools, and that means that you have opportunities everywhere, and that, I think, is what's really exciting.
I looked at the general campus and what people were saying about how open outside of the law school the campus was. And I started learning more about how the school was from people who had gone there.
I think the only way that one can really truly feel what the law school feels like is by visiting the law school and getting that first-hand experience and interacting with the students.
I actually want to practice LGBT law, so it was very essential for me in trying to find a law school to find somewhere that was not only going to teach me the skills that I needed, but to be able to offer me the support career-wise to find a job doing exactly what I wanted to do without having to hide who I was.
I'm searching for the resources for how to be a corporate attorney because that was my end goal. And I think when you're applying to law schools, it's important to think about not just what the atmosphere will be like while you're there, which is very important, but whether the resources of the school will help you move towards your end goal, which is why you came to law school in the first place.
Trying to be as out as possible in the process and doing the research, looking on websites, getting in contact with officers of GLBT organizations or GLBT faculty, the admissions staff, and just doing the research and making that step of reaching out to the school and seeing if the school reaches back.
The university that I ended up choosing, I actually got a handwritten note back from the professor. He was one of the university members who was involved in the LGBT organization and was also an out male himself.
I want to let them know, because they've been out in their application, which is a courageous thing for some of them to do. that we've seen that and that it's a positive thing for us, because that's really what the students, I think, most often want to know is, what is it really going to be like for me? Is it going to be a welcoming atmosphere? Am I going to be able to flourish? Am I going to be able to find a community that will be receptive to who I am so that I can have the kind of experience that law school ought to be?